I'm Emily Harrison. For those of you that may not know me, I'm the Director for Blue Star Families of Utah. We work to support military and veterans here in northern Utah. And one of the things that we do is connecting our military and veteran spouses, transitioning service members and veterans to employment opportunities, because we know that the struggle is real. I've been there myself. My husband was active duty Army for 22 years, and every time we PCSed to a new duty station, I always had some type of gap in employment, difficulty locating jobs in my field, having to pick up weird, odd jobs kind of to get by. So I've been there, I've done that, I've got all the t-shirts. So we definitely understand. We wanted to bring you this special opportunity today. I have Shay Baker with us from the Return Utah program. Really excited to hear about this opportunity for military and veteran spouses, veterans, transitioning service members, basically anybody who has been out of the workforce and is looking to get back into the workforce. So we're really excited to have her with us today. Shay Baker manages Return Utah, the only public career reentry program in the country. As part of Utah's Division of Human Resource Management, Shay is responsible for all resource management, support systems, content, education, marketing, and the employment and innovative strategies to ensure the growth and development of the Return Utah program under Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson. She's a frequent contributor to iRelaunch, the leading organization within the nation's career reentry space, and has been featured on Wall Street Journal, podcasts, NPR, and publications by Route 50, SHRM, and Pew Charitable Trusts. Cheyenne is a returnee herself, having participated in the Return Utah inaugural cohort after an 8-year career break. Prior to that, she worked as a television news producer and reporter for KTVX Salt Lake City. She holds a bachelor's degree in communication from Weber State University, and she lives in Layton with her husband and 3 daughters. Good morning, Shay. We can't wait to hear more about Return Utah and how it can help us get back into the workforce.
Good morning, Emily. I'm really excited to be here and to share. I first off just want to thank all of you who are affiliated with the military veteran, transitioning service members, spouses, partners. It's a great thing you do. It requires a lot of sacrifice, and we are hopeful in the state of Utah that this program can speak to you and maybe make things a little bit easier in your life, especially as you or your family members are looking for gainful employment in a time that's sort of unprecedented, right? With rising inflation, high gas costs, things of that nature. Gainful jobs and gainful employment are needed. So I'm really hopeful that this is a program that speaks to you or to someone you know, neighbors, friends, that it can be something that we can utilize to not only fill jobs, but really to help Utahns and military service members in the process of getting employment. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in and get started with my presentation. If you'll just bear with me briefly. I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. So, Return Utah, to give you a brief overview, the Return Utah program provides Utah residents the opportunity to return to the workforce after an extended absence or career break. As a state returnee, new hires rejuvenate their education, professional experience, training, and skills while receiving transitional support and resources for gainful employment. Meanwhile, state agencies fill open positions with experienced and motivated professionals. This program is the idea of Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson. She says here, I was a stay-at-home mom for 13 years before I got back into the workforce. I know how hard it is to feel like you can't apply for jobs or you don't have relevant experience. I also know that there are people who have a lot of life experience, a lot of skills and value they bring to the table that might not necessarily translate well onto a resume. I wanted to make sure we were giving an opportunity to those people who have been out of the workforce for an extended period, and help give them a leg up. I've worked with the Lieutenant Governor extensively on this program, and she firsthand is a returner. She knows what it's like to have gaps on your resume. She knows what it's like to experience a bit of fear and trepidation in getting into the workplace, to wonder if you have the abilities and the skill set that's required, especially as technology advances. And as many of you may have moved regularly or may have different gaps or even be underemployed, this is a perfect program to really help you get gainful employment that you may need. So, how does Return Utah work? So first, it starts with eligibility. The Return Utah program is specific to people who've taken a career break. You must have a career break of some sort in order to be eligible for the program. Now, for military service members and spouses or partners, you are eligible for the program with a career break of any length. So our typical requirement is that people have a 2-year career break or more. However, we know that members of the military, you may just have a career break during a move, or you may have a 3-month career break. As mentioned in that poll that Emily gave, it was 6 months or less. In discussions with other state agencies and veterans groups, it's become known to us that career breaks within military affiliated families are typically much shorter, but it doesn't mean that you don't need gainful employment or that you may not be underemployed given the fact that you're moving and sacrificing so much. So this eligibility requirement has been completely dropped. So you can have a career break of any length. That can include a week, a month, 3 months, several years, 17 years, if you've been caring for children or something and you've been moving all over the country. Any career break will make you eligible for the program. You must also have relevant experience and or education to the position. So Return Utah positions are mid-level positions. They're not necessarily entry level. We're looking for people who have some sort of education or background or experience level. Emily mentioned she had struggled to find some jobs that were within her field. So anything that really applies. So to be honest with you, I was a returner, I was a reporter, and I knew that I at one point wanted to return to the workforce, but I didn't want to work in TV news anymore. The relevant experience I had was I did, a lot of communication efforts. I wrote press releases, I worked and interviewed people. I was aware of the communication space and how it worked. So when I was hired as a communication specialist for the state of Utah, not necessarily a reporter, right? But they have similar background or experiences that would make you eligible. And you must be a Utah resident, meaning that you'll be living in Utah at the time that you're working for the program. Unfortunately, even though we offer a lot of telework opportunities, you have to live in the state in order to participate. How else does it work? Well, first and foremost, the candidate searches for a potential returnship opportunity on a state or public job board. We have several. So the returnutah.org is the Return Utah program's website where only Return Utah positions are posted. The government jobs website has all government jobs. You can do a search for Return Utah to look specifically for those jobs that cater to people who've had a career break. Also, our job posts are picked up by Indeed and LinkedIn, so it's really easy to find those there as well. Next, be aware of what the jobs look like. So Return Utah jobs vary by agency, job, expectations, and pay. What happens is we tell all of our state agencies, hey, we're hiring for Return Utah, and we ask them all to post positions that they may need. So one agency may need a data analyst. One agency may need an executive secretary. Another agency might need an engineer. Another might need a communication specialist. So the roles vary. The benefit of that is you can go onto a job board and you can find multiple positions that may speak to your experience level. All have a 16-week transitional period called a returnship. So we're going to use this word pretty often here. Some jobs are long-term permanent positions. That means you're hired for a long-term role. They might need an engineer for a long period of time, but if it's a Return Utah position, the first 16 weeks or 4 months of your employment would be as a Return Utah participant, meaning you receive transitional support to help you transition back into the workplace. Other jobs are temporary jobs. Any temporary project-based position, what that means is that you're typically assigned one project or several that the agency needs completed while you're there. Those project temporary-based positions span only the 16-week returnship. That means you re-enter the workforce for 16 weeks, and at the end of that 16-week period, you move on, whether that's to the private sector, another state agency, whether your contract is continued with the same agency you're with, etc. This can look very different depending on, your role and what you're doing. But so we do have both of those roles, long-term and temporary. Both of them are beneficial to you because even as a temporary role, you're still getting back into the workforce. You gain a few more people in your professional network. You get to get out of the house, do something that you haven't normally done, and kind of try it out, which works for a lot of our returners, that option to have a temporary project-based position so they can just test the waters. Some jobs are full-time benefited roles, other are part-time. It varies depending on the agency, so it's highly likely you can find something that works best for you. And also some jobs are in the office, some are telework only, and some are hybrid schedules where you can sort of choose what days you're in the office or what days you're at home. Again, this varies depending on the position, but the benefit is it gives you a lot of flexibility in looking for something that might fit what your needs are. Next, all returnees are hired as part of a cohort. This is why we're actually hiring right now for the next cohort, which will take place in the fall. A cohort is just a group of people. So we have had 3 participating cohorts in this calendar year. We had one January through April, another one that is in the middle of their returnship, May through August. We're currently hiring for the fall cohort, which will take place in September, the day after Labor Day, through December. Like I said, we are currently hiring for that. So we do have some positions that are posted. We'll have more posted by the end of the week. So now is a really great time to look at what jobs are available for that fall cohort. And we hire in a cohort so that you have sort of some built-in best friends who are going through the same experience as you, transitioning back into the workplace, going through the same challenges, celebrating the same victories. And it just gives you an added level of support, which for me as a returner and for all of our others thus far has been really vital and beneficial in helping us all to find success. In 2023, so in next year, hiring for the program will be more sporadic. Job openings will be posted on the site more often. We're looking at not hiring for those stringent cohort dates as you see up above. And we're looking at just hiring returners whenever an agency sees a need. So in 2023, you may see fewer job posts at one time, but you'll see a lot more overall as agencies are hiring according to their needs and not based on specific 16-week periods. So what kind of transitional support is provided for returners? This is really important and a question that we get a lot, and really the highlight of the Return Utah program. It was for me and certainly has been for our returners. So the majority of a returner's time and training are spent on the job, learning and utilizing skills needed at the agency they work. So if you're hired as a communication specialist, most of your work is going to be done there at the agency, working with a communication team, and it will be on the job training specific to your role. Same for like a data analyst or a research assistant or whatever. But Return Utah participants have additional benefits because they have additional support and resources that are provided to you if you need them. Here's an example of what some of these resources and support systems are. So first and foremost, when you start at Return Utah, you start your first day on the job. And within the first 2 weeks, you have a state employment orientation and you get connection to your cohort, meaning you get to meet those built-in best friends right off the bat. You get to really learn about what working for the state looks like, which most agencies don't do that sort of orientation. They kind of just bring you in and you learn about the agency itself. But this gives you an opportunity to look at what working for the state looks like and benefits and things of that nature. Also, within the first 2 weeks, you get a basic technological training and resources that will help you utilize office workspace tools. This is the biggest concern and fear of returners. It certainly was a huge one for me. And as I've talked to my friends who've taken career breaks, it's a huge concern for them, right? Like, what if I haven't done a spreadsheet in 10 years because I've been home with my children? Or what if I've been receiving cancer treatments for a while and I just haven't got into things and I'm a little rusty? What if I am a military spouse and I've been moving all over and I just haven't used, Google Slides or PowerPoint for all these years, and that's part of the job? We give you some basic technological training along with resources so that within that first 2 weeks, you can not only dust the rust off, but you can get advanced training according to what your own personal needs are so that you're ready. And the place that you work is going to give you time to do that because they want you to refresh your skill set, which is really, really beneficial to have someone in an agency that's, supportive and flexible so that you can be successful in your job. I love that personally. I think it's a huge highlight. Next, you have group cohort check-ins. So I check in with you and your cohort 3 times during that 16-week period, and we talk about challenges that you may be facing, victories that you may be celebrating, things that you may be experiencing. A lot of returners, their family members go through a bit of a challenge. They're not used to mom or dad working, and maybe the house is a little bit messier. Maybe it's a little stressful dealing with all the other things you have on your plate. Now you work part-time or full-time. So we discuss those things, and as a group, we come up with solutions and just really talk and get through those challenges together, which is so beneficial. In addition, you get to attend Meet Your Mentor and networking events. So we help you to utilize networking groups that exist, such as like Women in Tech or Business Analyst Council, things of that nature. But we also connect you to mentors within the state of Utah. So you get to meet Return Utah alumni and talk to them about what they're doing and how they've succeeded. But we also connect you with executive level leadership. The state of Utah is incredibly unique in the fact that we have a large number of executive level leaders, people that run state agencies, people in the governor's office that have taken career breaks for varied reasons, right? And so it's a great opportunity to talk with them about their challenges, how they rose to leadership, and just really get inspired and motivated. At the end of each returnship, we provide a resume, LinkedIn, and career development workshop. We talk about everything from networking groups to what a LinkedIn presence should look like and how you could optimize that for your benefit. We go over resumes, cover letters, references, just everything you might need so that at the end of your returnship, you can move forward feeling prepared. Then we also have iRelaunch e-learning tracks. iRelaunch is our consultant, and there's a link here that you can utilize. iRelaunch is the leading career reentry sort of resource within the career reentry space. So it has existed in the private sector for many, many years. Since 2008 was when returnships first began in New York City at Goldman Sachs. Returnship programs have exploded all over in the private sector, and the next wave is definitely the public sector. We are the first state to run a program like this, but they're looking at starting programs in New Mexico, Washington, Toronto City, I just spoke to, Tampa, Florida, I just spoke to, San Francisco, I just spoke to. So these are programs that will be available all over. iRelaunch helps these programs grow across the country. But for us specific in Utah, what they do is they provide also 3 e-learning tracks. And what these do is they help you to improve your soft skills. So for example, the first e-learning track that iRelaunch provides is a track that discusses things like, how do you introduce yourself as a returner? How do you recover from imposter syndrome, which is something that a lot of returners experience, especially in that first month or two. Things like that. And then later on, they talk about how to set goals, how to celebrate victories, things of that nature. They're really, really helpful in helping you improve, not only as an employee, but as a person, as you're relaunching your career. Lastly, Return Utah provides you with really unique opportunities to connect with the Lieutenant Governor and her staff. We get to meet with her twice every cohort, to meet with her, talk with her, to meet with executive level leaders. And these are wonderful opportunities to get inspiration and motivation to succeed. So how do you get started? Let's say this all sounds good and it's interesting to you, or maybe you know someone who's taken a career break and they've mentioned they might want to start getting back to work. How do you get started? As mentioned before, you start by searching jobs, and these are the websites I had mentioned prior that list Return Utah opportunities. We are currently hiring, so right now for the next 2 weeks, you're going to see a lot of opportunities open up. We won't have additional opportunities open up probably until January of 2023. So now's the time. Share with friends and family, advertise that to people you know, so that they can have the opportunity to get into these jobs. Next, you go through the general hiring procedures. You would submit your application, your resume, and or cover letter according to the job post. Just a reminder, if you are military affiliated, there is no eligibility requirement for the 2-year career gap or less. Our HR analysts are aware of that. Our state agencies are aware of that as well. Then you complete the screening process just as you would normally. The benefit of Return Utah, though, is that if you have a career gap, your resume is not going to be thrown out the door because you haven't worked for a while. In fact, the opposite. They're going to look at your resume and really evaluate what skills and experience you have that might be helpful to the agency. You'd complete the interview process as necessary with the agency who has the job open. You'd receive or accept a job offer, again with the agency. You'd begin the onboarding process, which is the same as any employer. You'd fill out your paperwork and your direct deposit, things like that. And then you would start your returnship on the designated date at the agency that you're working for. 16 weeks later, you transition from your returnship to your future roles or responsibilities, whether that means you're staying with the agency or jumping ship and moving to the private sector, whatever's best for you. Now, what are the benefits for you? So here's a quote from John Hagwood. I'm just going to paraphrase because this will be recorded and you'll have this opportunity. But what John basically says is that because he took a career break, it didn't mean that his 15 years of experience disappeared. But during my job search, I was beginning to feel that others saw it that way. I started worrying about how I could defend my career break, which detracted from the focus being on how I was the best candidate for the position. When I came across Return Utah, it was obvious that I wouldn't have to defend my career break, so I focused on how my skills would be an asset to the job. John Hagwood was hired in January as an engineer for the Utah Department of Natural Resources. He took a 3-year career break for health-related issues. He had a very serious autoimmune condition that was almost deadly. He had to step back. He was forced to step back. And not only was his returnship beneficial, he was hired long-term and he was just promoted 3 weeks ago within the agency. He's an excellent candidate that may not have even gotten an opportunity had he not found Return Utah. Another returner, Erin Smith, she works for the Utah Office of Tourism. She says the program expectations and support meant that I had a safe place to learn, grow, and ask questions with mentors and peers who understood what I was experiencing. All this support has eased my transition back into the workforce and helped ensure dramatic personal and career growth, including greater confidence and a more balanced life. Erin was also hired in a temporary position. She was offered a long-term position. She's very experienced. She has a master's degree, loads of volunteer experience, but she took a 15 career break and could not get a job. So this program has really benefited her and she's moving onward and upward. Lastly, in terms of how it can benefit you, we've had 33 participants complete the program thus far across 17 state agencies, but this is huge for us, and this is actually a high number in comparison to the private sector. We're very proud of this number. 92% of our Return Utah participants have converted to long-term employment after their returnship. This is significant because more than half, 60% of our returners were hired in temporary roles. What that means is that state agencies saw their talent, their experience, their innovative ideas, their energy, and they did everything they could to keep them on board. We're really, really, really proud of this because the state is really breaking ground in this area, and we're happy to see that our returners are having the opportunity to stay on with gainful employment long term. Lastly, 100% of our state returners reported the following in a recent survey. They finished their returnship with a greater sense of confidence. They not only refreshed their skill set, they expanded it. They've made long-term mentor connections that they feel they can utilize through the end of their career, and they are more prepared to re-enter the job market. So these are things that we're really, really excited about, and we want you to join our team. I will say we have not had any military service members, transitioning military veterans, or military spouses participate in our program yet. And when the Lieutenant Governor designed it, she designed it to include our military families. We want you to join our team. If you have experience or an interest in returning to the workforce, we want you. So please look into these job opportunities. Please share with your family and friends, with those that you're affiliated with through the military. It's a wonderful program. And I can say for me, having participated in the inaugural cohort, which was just in September of last year. In fact, this time last year, I was interviewing for a position, fully not even expecting to return to the workforce. It kind of just, I heard about it and it sort of landed in my lap. And it has been such a transformative experience for me and for my family, and so beneficial, really giving me some fulfillment that I was missing in my life, and gainful employment at the mid-level. I didn't have to climb the career ladder again. I was able to come back without making $12 an hour as a receptionist or someone at Arby's. I was able to come back at a competitive wage, doing something that matters to me and to others. And like I said, I started at Commerce, and then I was offered a position with DHRM to run the Return Utah program. And for me, it has been just truly, truly remarkable and a huge blessing to me, both professionally and personally. And we think we know, having seen 33 other participants, we know that it can be equally as beneficial to you. With that, I close the slideshow. Are there any questions that I can answer about the program?
If you got any questions, that you can actually just raise your hand. I can take you off of mute and allow you to talk if anybody has any questions that they want answered. I was just kind of poking around on the job board that is that's linked in the Return Utah site, and there's multiple positions that are there already, and these, like I said, like well-paying jobs in here. So it's really exciting. I'm excited because I know this is going to be a great opportunity for military spouses or transitioning service members. I mean, there's some really good jobs here. I do have one question, because there is like a salary, like some of them have a span, like one is like
Yes.
$20 to $30. So do they take your experience into consideration upon hiring, as far as where they're going to place you, like in that salary band?
Yes, yes, they do. So it's pretty rare that someone is placed at the high end of that, like the very highest. And the reason being is it doesn't give opportunity to grow if you're within that classification. The majority of our returners have been hired at the mid range for those positions. Sometimes higher, but in that case, usually if you're hired at the top of that range, it's because there are other opportunities for growth or other promotions that may be available over time, because they want you to obviously have wage growth and that opportunity. So, but typically you're hired within the mid-level to upper level, somewhere in there. But usually with returners as well, they have past experience and education that qualifies them for the role. So I've never seen a returner hired at the lower end.
Yeah, and that's really exciting. I know we see a lot of chatter from military spouses, veteran spouses who are trying to do a career change, or just have been out of work for a while, and they'll come in and say, I need at least $18 to $20 starting, and like they get very frustrated in their job search because they do come across a lot of like those entry level positions where
Mhm.
it's like $12, $13 an hour, and it can be very frustrating as a spouse. I know myself, kind of pouring through job boards, and that's kind of the majority of what you tend to find are those entry level
Right.
positions. So this is
Yeah,
just
that's
really
very true. In addition, I will mention, so the state of Utah has just given a percentage pay increase for inflation that's gone out to all employees, 3.5%. Doesn't quite cover inflation, but it certainly helps. And then some agencies are undergoing, actually, they're part of a 3-year project where wage is being changed across agencies. So, for example, we're currently in this project where positions are being compared to private sector positions. And if there's a huge inequity in pay, the state is increasing those. So, for example, I just have a returner who's in the summer program right now. He received his 3.5% increase for inflation. And next month, he gets an 18.5% increase
wow.
because his job, because it's in the public sector, has been traditionally paid less. And we're really trying in the state to increase that equity and make sure the public sector is providing equal pay to the private sector. So a lot of agencies are actually going through that right now, and that will be taking place for the next couple of years to increase that equity and make things more equal and comparable to what you'd see privately.
That's awesome. It's good to know, because I know a lot of people are stressed right now. We're seeing that a lot in our military and veteran community, of kind of being almost kind of priced out of Utah
Yeah,
with the rental market and inflation and everything going on. So it's great to be able to have this resource um, for those folks that need, have the need now to get back into a job, because financially they need to have another income. So
right.
very exciting. And yeah, just scrolling through, I mean, there's a range of positions too, I mean, across different things like social services, legal,
Mm-hmm.
admin, agriculture. So
Yeah, and there will be
definitely.
more. So we anticipate several more positions to be posted by the end of the week. So it's a good opportunity to look at what's available, share with friends and family what's available. In addition, you can apply for multiple roles. We have a lot of returners who some of those roles are kind of general, and they just know they want to get back to work and they need the transitional support. So we've had people apply for 4, 5, 6 roles even, and then they sort of get to choose when offers come in which role is best for them. So that's not frowned upon in any way, shape, or form. You can feel free to do that if you feel like you, several roles might fit your experience level or interest.
Okay, great. And so will these positions stay, like they'll stay open until the closing date? Like, does it matter how many people apply for any one?
Yeah, I mean, if we get few candidates, they'll probably keep them open for a bit longer. But for sure, all of the job posts should be open, with the exception there's a communication manager job post that is there right now that's closing soon because that's actually been up for almost a month.
Okay.
But all of the others are going to be closing probably in about 2 weeks from now. So you can expect to see them here. That'll give you a little bit of time if people need to sort of, I know for me, I would see a job post and I'd think, oh, so much work. Like I have to redo my resume and update my LinkedIn and all of those fun things. But it gives you a little bit of time to do that to your best ability, even do some research. I know a lot of people have concerns about how do I put a career break on my resume? The benefit here is you can kind of put it in whatever manner you want to, and you won't be frowned upon for doing so. We're looking for people with that career break, and for military, again, it's for any period of time.
That's awesome. So just take us through, like, when you do apply
Mhm.
for any one position, like what does that look like from application to like either interview or actual offer?
I mean, it's pretty much the same as it would be normally in any type of hiring role. You're going to submit your information online. and you'll just wait for a call or an email or a letter. Different agencies, it kind of varies on how they get back to you. And you start that interview process. Some agencies, it depends on the role, require 1 or 2 interviews, right? And then they'll offer a position. Some agencies that you'll see there require a little bit more clearance, like security clearance or things like that, background checks, etc. So they may interview you one time and then submit your information for background checks and things like that, then do another interview. It really does vary depending on the role, but it is standard procedure that you'll go through the interview process at the agency. You'll get to meet the hiring managers and some of the people you may potentially work with. And then, if you're the candidate selected, they'll offer you the job. And once you're offered a job, you choose to accept or not. And then, they would just give you all the information you need to start on a certain day, where you need to be, what you need to do, and you jump in and get started. And then right from week 1, we as Return Utah really try to jump in and help give you the things that you need so that you can kind of hit the ground running, or at least take time filling in those gaps or holes, whether they be technological or whether you're feeling nervous about, introducing yourself, or how to work as a team, etc., how to have difficult workplace conversations, which some returners have had to have right off the bat, as in terms of getting to know their team. So, all of those things are kind of provided to you really early on so that you can hit the ground running and start your transition. And that's pretty much what it looks like. It's no different from other roles. The exception is you're given a little bit of time and opportunity to really refresh that skill set, and you're not judged accordingly, right? No one's going to judge you and say, oh, she can't do a spreadsheet, or
Right.
she's so rusty on this. They're going to say, hey, take some time today, work on that if that's what you feel you need to work on. And then we'll work on that project a little later, which is just really awesome. It's nice to know that no one's going to think less of you just because you've taken a break or you may be a little rusty.
Yeah, that's great, because I know that that's always a challenge for military
Mhm.
spouses, especially to try to explain a resume gap without necessarily like divulging that you're a military spouse, because you don't want that stigma,
Right.
kind of put on you. So this is very exciting all around. And I know, I would say maybe this is just this one cohort that's going to be starting in September. So if for whatever reason, like there's not a job that necessarily speaks to anybody or that they're qualified for in this cohort, that next cohort would be January's.
January.
And
Yeah.
then,
So we would start posting additional jobs probably in January. That may change where we start to post some things in the fall. And if that were the case, it would maybe be November where we'd post most jobs. But as I mentioned, we're looking at changing our model a little bit where we can provide more hiring flexibility, and we'll have jobs open all the time, as opposed to just, like a hiring blitz in this particular period of time and then another one later. So in January, you should see regular job postings coming across. There will be fewer at one time. There might not be 20 all at one time, but you might see 2 or 3, and then the next week there are another 2, and then the next week another 3, or something like that. But that'll give our agencies more flexibility, and we're going to be reworking the program so that our returners still get all the same benefits, the same transitional support. The agencies have all of the flexibility they need to hire whenever they want, and that will also increase the likelihood, if you're not ready to go back to work in September, that maybe you're ready to go back to work in February. That's a great resource to look at so that you can return to the idea and apply at a time that's ready for you or that's best for you.
awesome, that's great. Okay, so we're going to put your contact information in the chat, in case folks have additional questions. And I don't know if Miss Ashley's still on the call with us, and if you have a quick question or not, give you an opportunity to ask that. All right, maybe not. All right. Well, this has been super informative. It's very exciting. Again, we're recording this, so we will push this out again to the masses, because I think it's very much needed in the military and veteran community. So it's super exciting, and we thank you so much for joining us today and sharing this information.
Thank you, Emily. And just to chime in one last time, if anyone has any questions or concerns, they can always feel free to email me directly. I'm happy to answer questions or answer questions from family members or friends, spouses, etc., just so we can get the word out about how great this program is and how it can benefit Utahns.
All right, well, thank you
Thank you so much for your time.